Hello class, these are 7 4 videos, notes for Algebra 1. So we're going to start out with zero product property. So zero product property says if there is a product of factors equal to 0, then at least one factor must be equal to 0. So if you're multiplying two factors together, that's what product means, and together they make 0 when you're multiplying them, then at least one of the factors must equal 0. Ooh, that got really big there. So that means something like, so that is if, let's say x plus a times x plus b is equal to 0, then either x plus a is equal to 0, or x plus b is equal to 0, or both of them is equal to 0. So we're going to look at using this, and we did zero product property in the last chapter when we were looking at intercepts, but now we're doing it kind of by itself and for solving quadratics. So I need to go ahead and look at how I have two of these factors. The parentheses show they're being multiplied together, so either 9x plus 2 is equal to 0, or the x minus 3 is equal to 0. I need to go ahead and solve both of these. So the first one I would subtract 2. So 9x equals negative 2, and then I will divide by 9. It's really important to us that you show the work for this. I know that many of them you can kind of do in your head, but that's not our goal. It's not our goal to do it in our heads this year. Our goal is to understand how this algebra works so that we can use it in more difficult spots, okay? So we want to be really fluent with this skill, and it's going to take practice. The second one, I can see that this factor x minus 8 is being multiplied by the factor x plus 5. So either x minus 8 will equal 0 or x plus 5 will equal 0. So let's go ahead and solve both of those. The first one I'm just adding 8. The second one I am subtracting 5. So please show your work for full credit on this. As we move down the page, I know the next one looks a little bit trickier. So what I see when I look at this is I have x being multiplied by that x plus 1. So my two factors are the x and the x plus 1. So either x is equal to 0 or x plus 1 is equal to 0, or both. Subtract 1. We have x is 0 or x is negative 1. Same thing on the next one. When I look at this, I see a negative 2x being multiplied by that 3x plus 5. And so my two factors are the negative 2x and the 3x plus 5. So either negative 2x equals 0 or 3x plus 5 equals 0. So the first one I would divide both sides by negative 2. X equals 0 divided by negative is still 0. Second one we would subtract 5. And then we would divide by 3. So we get x is equal to 0 or x is equal to negative 5/3. For the next two, we have squared quantities. So if I have a squared quantity, remember squared just means times itself. So this would be an x plus 8 times another x plus 8 is equal to 0. So I could write x plus 8 is equal to 0 or x plus 8 equals to 0. But because they are the same factor, I only really need to solve once. So no need to solve twice because it'd be the same thing. I would get that same negative 8 two different times. When I solve, I get x is equal to negative 8. I know that some of you, though, are probably also thinking, hey, that's a squared quantity. So a different way to solve this would be to say, well, x plus 8 squared is equal to 0. So I want to square root both sides. Square and a root means I have an absolute value of x plus 8 is equal to 0. And so normally I would say x plus 8 is a positive or a negative, but 0 is just 0. There's no positive or negative 0. So then we would just write x plus 8 is equal to 0, and then we would solve it. So either way, if we use the square root method or the zero product property method, we get the same answer. I feel like the zero product property method is a little bit faster though. So that's what I'm going to show on the next one, but you could do it either way. On the next one, we would have 2 minus 4x times 2 minus 4x is equal to 0. And so same factor twice again, so 2 minus 4x equals 0. We'll just solve it one time. I'm going to start by subtracting 2 on both sides, so that negative 4x is equal to 0 minus 2 is negative 2. Divide both sides by negative 4. So negative divided by negative is going to be a positive 2/4, but then we can reduce that. So remember, we can divide a top and bottom of the fraction by the same thing, so we're going to divide them both by 2. And then we would have x is equal to 1/2. So 2 is half of 4, 1 is half of 2. Like, this is how I would simplify that down. So we might have some fractions to simplify. So main ideas today are just kind of going back to the zero product property and revisiting that and making sure that we understand it. As always, if you have questions, please make sure that you ask.